All right, music fans, welcome. Harmless Dave here on the Harmless Dave channel, talking about real music and doing it in real time for a few real people out here, just like you and just like me. All right, so I'm going to talk about the yacht rock thing again. Rick Beato did another excellent video about this, but I got some personal testimony and commentary about all of this, and Donald Fagen was not happy when the producer of the documentary called him. He was not. This wasn't a wink and a smile and oh yeah. It the media, all right. There's so many things that are running through my head. Before I get to I'm going to try to discipline here and get to one topic hopefully. High South, right? I showcase things since we're talking about so-called yacht rock. If you haven't heard High South, holy crap, Batman. The album is called Feel This Good. I'm pretty sure they've released other things that gets very little attention. They get very little attention. All right. If you like the Beach Boys, the Eagles, the Doobie Brothers, Poco, there you go. High South. And I can't recommend this more because these guys get it. They're making music like very few people make these days. All right. So, a little personal testimony. So, when I was in college, there was this radio station that I used to listen to in Boston. And I was playing all the alternative stuff at the radio station. It was still kind of a big deal. It was starting to fade a little bit. Like the new wave stuff was kind of turning into alternative music. And I liked some of it, but quite honestly, it wasn't my wheelhouse mostly. There were a few bands that I still love and respect to this day, but there was this radio station in Boston that was a top 40 station, and they, like many radio stations, overnight, like in 1985 or 86, probably maybe the new year, I'm going to say, of 1986, they changed their format from top 40 to what they called quality rock. And to this day, it was one of my favorite radio stations of all time. Didn't last all that long. I think it lasted like a couple of years, and then someone bought it and I think turned it back to top 40 or hip hop. I think it turned into a hip hop radio station, which again makes sense based on how much money radio stations can make playing certain styles of music. But the quality rock, let me give you some examples of what they were playing. So Alan Parsons had a song out called Standing on Higher Ground. All right. Is Alan Parsons yacht rock? If you think Alan Parsons is yacht rock, I don't know where you've been, but no. They're playing a song by Cutting Crew. I think I'm pretty sure it's one of my favorite all-time songs. I've Been in Love Before. They were playing that. They're playing this amazing song by Daryl Hall, who had put out an album called Three Hearts and the Happy Ending Machine. Somebody Like You is the name of this track. Go listen to this track sometime. Gut-wrenching song, definite quality rock element. And who's playing the guitar solo on that? Just a blistering solo. Tons of emotion. Eric Clapton. Eric Clapton. My friend Eric Clapton is playing. That's kind of weird to say out loud. But yeah, just an amazing track. And first time I ever heard Mark Knopfler, Lips Against Steel. I talk about that album every so often. They were playing a couple of tracks off of that. China Crisis, Arizona Sky. All right. By the way, China Crisis was kind of like an 80s version of Steely Dan, like a British 80s. I don't know how to describe it, but if you go back and listen to China Crisis, you're going to find a lot of great music. So, but that is an example of the format and the moniker quality rock. Q103. I was like, yeah, I listen to quality rock. I don't mess around. So to me, yacht rock is quality rock. Now, if some of the lyrics from the 70s are a little cheesy or they didn't age well because of the time period and this sort of the moral standards or whatever. Yeah, okay, but the music itself, talk to Jay Graydon, the guy who put down the guitar solo on Peg, about how meticulous that whole process was and how important it was to get everything right. I mean, Steely Dan, they took longer to make albums. They were meticulous album makers. I can't think of anyone, even the Beatles with George Martin. I can't, maybe I think Steely Dan spent more time even than the Beatles making albums. I'm not saying that makes their albums better than the Beatles, but you got Jeff Skunk Baxter. I mean, you got so many people. If you go and get the Asia album, get any of the Steely Dan albums and pull out the record sleeves, and you're just going to be dumbfounded. Larry Carlton. Hello? Just talk about guitar players for Alex, I'll take guitar players who aren't talked about for 1,000, Larry Carlton, insane guitarist, still alive and still insane. It's insanely good. So, again, Rick Beato mentions the song Ricky Don't Lose My Number. Now, it's not just because that song is older that it doesn't fit. I mean, it's a pop rock song. It was on classic rock stations all the time. See, the Overton window has moved where, yeah, that used to be a classic rock song. Maybe it's an oldie now. Maybe it's adult contemporary. Maybe it's all of the above. Because in those days, you could have some crossover and nobody would be upset about it. Oh, we played Steely Dan on a classic rock station. As you should. As you should, because of these great guitar solos. It's just another reason why redefining something way after the fact is stupid. All right? Just, yes, we're just going to lump it all together and call it yacht rock. Because, and by the way, there are so many different genres that mix. There's just straight up rock. There's R&B influenced rock. There's kind of a disco thing that's fading away, and that gets sort of put into the mix a little bit, especially like 79, 80, 81. It all has torque. It all has a drive to it. And a lot of today's stuff just doesn't do that. And so the part where the producer of this documentary calls up Donald Fagen, and his name is Gerald Price? Garrett Price. So Garrett Price calls up Donald Fagen and introduces himself and asks politely for an interview about this genre. And again, this is from People magazine, and everybody says that Fagen's reaction is funny. It's priceless. It is priceless, but it's not funny. It's not a tongue-in-cheek endorsement. Just because Fagen allowed them to use the Steely Dan stuff in the documentary doesn't necessarily mean he's endorsing what they're saying and doing. He's probably seeing dollar signs, and maybe, if people want to attend a Steely Dan concert, if they're still doing concerts, Fagen can get up on stage and say, this isn't bleeping yacht rock. That's probably what he'll do. This is good music. That's what he'll probably say. So, again, Price introduces himself and says he wants to do an interview about this genre. This isn't a genre, folks. It's not a genre, all right? Fagen, what is this? What genre is that? And Price says, yacht rock. Of course. You didn't know, Donald? You didn't know? Fagen goes, oh, yacht rock. Well, I tell you what, why don't you go bleep yourself? And then hangs up. Does that, that's supposed to be funny. Price confirms to People magazine that the conversation and the hang-up are 100% real and says that despite the dramatic end to the phone call, Fagen's manager immediately called back and granted permission to use 6 Steely Dan songs in the documentary. What does that mean? Well, it means people are going to search out Steely Dan because they're going to hear all of this great music that is slowly being focus tested off of radio stations, which Honest to goodness, a Steely Dan album from start to finish uh, is radio ready. There aren't too many songs that they, there may be a few obscure songs, but for the most part, all of those songs were on the radio at one time, either just as top 40 songs, classic rock songs, those great FM stations from the past. Hey, here's a song you haven't heard from Steely Dan. We'll go a little bit deeper. Don't Take Me Alive. Anyone remember that song? No, it's just an amazing song. Weird lyrics as always. But man, some great guitar work on that song too. I'm thinking maybe Larry Carlton, could be Skunk. I don't know. Could be anybody because those guys were just really great about picking amazing musicians. So it's not a wink, right? Price says it's a wink that Fagen reacted this way. What do you mean it's a wink? What are you talking about? He was angry. He doesn't want to be defined that way. The people who like this music, they don't want to be defined that way. He goes, it's like, I get it. I understand how important this name Yacht Rock is to our music. No, that's not what he was saying when he said to go F yourself. I'm going to let you know how I feel about that. It's him being him. Okay, those two things don't go together. He says this is Price's interpretation of the hang-up. It's like, I get it. I understand how important this name Yacht Rock is to our music. But I'm going to let you know how I feel about that. It's him being him. No, here's my interpretation. Fagen was angry and hung up on you because he doesn't want to be defined that way. He will let you use the music, though, because you know what? How many people are going to watch this documentary? And I'm assuming that he still has rights to the music because he's giving you permission to use it. So, look, folks, quality rock. That's what this is. This is quality rock like Q103, that great radio station in Boston that came and went much faster than this so-called genre. Look, there are bands like State Cows today, right? Go listen to State Cows. There are other bands that are making this kind of music. My good friend Craig Higgins and his outfit called Causeway Stars. Yeah, they're going right for that West Coast feel good ear candy, which again, it's hard to make music that sounds that way. It's hard to make decent melodies. And look, you can enjoy stuff that's in a minor key and has kind of a sour taste to it. And maybe it's kind of sweet and sour. It's like a food thing. But for me, I'm going to listen to a song. Wow, listen to that hook. Wow, that's something original and new I haven't heard before. Wow, listen to that guitar solo. One thing about the so-called yacht era is that you had to have a great guitar solo. Even if it was a little one. Look what the Commodores did on the song Easy with that guitar solo. That's legendary. Everybody knows that guitar solo because of its cadence, and it just fits perfectly. It's not a very long solo. Didn't have to be eternal to make an impact on a song, but when I hear that song, I always look forward to the guitar solo because it's epic, right? And you don't get that anymore. There's no build up. There's no like, okay, here comes that solo. There's none of that now. There's no intrigue. It's like song starts loud and thumping and lots of distortion and compression and all that stuff. Can't hear anything individually. Anyway, go listen to Jay Graydon on Peg. Just insane. All right, here's a band too that will fit right in. High South, Feel This Good, because it's this good. You'll feel this good listening to it. Doobie Brothers, Eagles, Beach Boys, America. It's another band that this kind of takes from a little bit. America. Don't get me started. They're not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because they're yacht rock. That's why. It's just ridiculous, folks. Anyway, thanks for watching the channel. Please subscribe if you haven't done that. When I get a little hyper like this, people tend to get angry. I don't know why. They're like, who are you to talk like that about anything? So I'm supposed to talk in nice soft tones. Like Yacht Rock. It's wonderful. It's great. Everybody loves Yacht Rock. No, the name is the issue. It's quality rock, people. You heard it here first. It's quality rock. All right? High quality, 100% pure, no compression, no distortion, great songwriting, quality rock.